If I want to get into Malayalam films today, do I need to know people? Do I need to have a network?
That is very, very true. Yeah, it definitely exists. My mom got a call from this major producer, and she was like, okay, let me just talk to her manager. I will get back to you. So he was offended. And I didn't get that movie. I still remember one actor. The actor used to come to the set with a gun.
Huh?
He had a gun and shooting with Lalitan. His phone rings. It was some kid, and they were like, Mohanlal aano? He's just like, ആണല്ലോ ഞാനിപ്പോൾ തിരക്കില്ല മോനെ പിന്നെ സംസാരിക്കാം. He basically said, I'm busy, I'll talk to you later. And he just hung up.
This is a conversation with Meera Nandan. She's an actor, popularly known for her roles in movies like Mulla, Hithudu, Seniors, and many more films in the Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu, and Kannada film industries. She's also currently a radio presenter at Gold 101.3 in Ajman. In this conversation, we talk about her journey into films, her childhood, how she fell in love with music, how she then got into movies, hosting reality shows. We talk about her approach to acting, what makes films in the South so good, what makes some of her co-actors like Mammootty, Mohanlal so good at what they do. We also talk about her approach to radio, what separates radio here, the different presentation style for radio hosting in the UAE as compared to back in Kerala, what separates the audience. And we also talk about some of the challenges of working in the film industry. And now, it's no time.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
You've said in the past that you grew up in Kochi with no dreams of ever getting into movies or acting. Your first love was music. Your grandmother was a music teacher. She trained you in singing. Then you had an interest in journalism, mass comm. And even though Tarot Card Reader once told you that you'll be famous one day, you've said your path into movies was an unexpected path. So take me back to your childhood. What was it like growing up in Kochi? How did you fall in love with music? And then how did you end up on this unexpected path into movies and acting?
Wow. So when I was a kid, I was always inclined towards art, like be it singing or dancing for that matter. Like every other Indian household, my parents used to take me to a music class and a dance class. But then later on, I think I kind of understood that dance needs like too much of effort, right? Like you got to like
So that's how.
yeah, and also like I don't know, I always preferred singing when compared to dancing. Maybe because of my genes. My grandmother was a singing music teacher, but she never, I remember vaguely when I was like, my memory is really bad, but still I vaguely remember her sitting down and teaching me when I was probably like 4ish. But then later I was consistent with music classes. I used to go for all sorts of music classes, be it classical music, Indian classical music, and Carnatic music, and light music. I used to go for another class for light music only. After probably like 14 years of age, I used to go for vocal training, which my mom took me for. And I still remember my sir was extremely strict. Like, he used to make me sing, like, and he used to beat me and all of that.
Back then,
in those days. Yeah,
I've also
not
been
like now.
beaten by teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he used to understand if I missed one day of practice. I don't know how he did that. Like he used to like pick me on it. So my mom used to make sure I woke up every day at like 3:30 and sang at the top of my voice at home. I used to practice regularly, and I was a very, very good student back then. All credit goes to my mom. And she used to, it was her resilience and like her passion that she just transferred to me. Like she used to like take me everywhere to sing. She used to take me for all sorts of stage shows.
A lot of inter-school competitions you took part in.
School though, it was always there. Like every year for Children's Day, we used to have a singing competition, whichever it is, like classical, light music. And I was one among the singers who sang prayer for the school and all of that. Like, I was always there. So if there's a music competition, they used to be like, yeah, Meera, you're there. And I used to like it too. I could cut classes. So that was a big thing back in school days, right?
To bunk.
Yeah. I could bunk without losing attendance. I used to be always in my school. There used to be Kalakshetra. It's called Kalakshetra, where all the fine arts was there. I used to enjoy all of that, those phases. And yeah, like I said, my mom took me to all the stage shows, and like I used to be super afraid of stages. Like, I still remember for my first stage show when I was singing, I used to hold my lips like this and sing.
Shivering.
Because it used to shiver so badly. I still remember my knees trembling and all of that. I've learned a lot through all of that. Like, she used to take me for stage shows, and then she used to take me for TV shows, for music competitions. And then from there, I got into hosting. So first I used to host for a local TV channel. And then I hosted a star interview kind of a show. I was a kid back then, yeah? Like,
Still in school at this point, right?
yeah. Like 11th grade types. I used to be really nervous. I still remember the first time Prithvi Raj came for that show. I used to be like, recently somebody posted on Instagram, these flashback videos that somebody posted on Instagram, and I couldn't watch it. I just skipped it.
You're like, can we please delete this forever?
Yeah. I mean, I look like a different person. I talk like a different person. Even my voice is different. And like, that video it just gave me a lot of memories, those times. So yeah, then TV shows happened, and eventually I did Idea Star Singer. I again went to participate, but they called me to be the host. I mean, not the main host. I was the host for the grooming session. And then when film directors came for the shoot of they come as guests, right?
Many of them used to. Yeah.
They used to ask the producer of the show if I'll just find out if she's interested to act. I used to always say, I'm not. And why? Because when I was hosting a show in a channel called Amrita TV, they called me to act for a short film.
The director was too strict.
Yeah. And I used to hate it. It was a terror for me to like wake up and go to the movie set, right? So I just hated it, and I'm done with acting, no more acting and all of that. But then the opportunity that came my way was like too hard to say no to because of like Dilip Etten and Lal Josa, who's a big filmmaker. So then I thought, okay, I might as well try.
Does it give you an advantage if you start off by hosting in reality TV? That was in a way your first formal step into the entertainment industry. Does that give you a unique starting point, a unique set of skills that when you finally move into movies and acting, you found that compared to people who took the more conventional path, you had a different approach to it?
See, if I give an answer for this right now, for people who are listening to me would absolutely relate to what I'm trying to say. Because back in the day, for somebody to be on the TV and eventually move to the films was a big deal.
Unthinkable, right?
Yeah, it was a big deal for a very normal like me. I'm a no one, right? I'm nobody in my family was like. Obviously, I had second cousins who were part of movies, but back in the day, it was a big deal. If I had gone straight into the movies, probably I'll be conscious about, how I'm looking and like. And again, I was just 17 years old when I started off, right? So somebody who's guiding me, I used to just follow him. He used to tell me exactly how to act. He used to show me, this is how you should react. Because now at least we are having a conversation. When we're acting in a movie, you wouldn't be there, right? I'd be talking to a camera. So giving reactions and giving dialogues in the emotion that the scene demands and all of that was a big deal because, again, I'm a child, right? So that part was an advantage for sure.
Just last week's episode was with Rajiv Khandelwal, and he was this huge TV actor, and he said there was often this conception that if you're in TV, you'll stay in TV. Film will never accept you as someone in film itself. So I completely get that sentiment. Lal Jose told you when you auditioned for Mulla, you went in a school uniform and he
Correct.
asked you, are you sure? Because if this movie happens, then your life will change forever. And he was right. Have you noticed that there's in a way, a challenge when someone is a fresh face in the industry? If your first role is this breakthrough role, then that is the only image people have of you in the industry, of this girl next door role. So that's the only role you're going to get. So did you have to break past that to actually get different roles like you got in Hituru, Black Forest, Lokpal?
Honestly, back in the day, I was least bothered. I was just doing this for the fun of it. I didn't care about the roles that I'm doing. Good opportunities from good directors came my way, and I just accepted all of it. I probably neglected one or two, and that's it. Because I never managed my film career, right? My mom, everyone used to call my mom, and like she was the one who she was like, okay, this director has called. Do you want to do it? I'll be like, okay, why not? After probably 5 to 6 films, I thought, now I have to. I know how much effort goes into like making a good movie. So I have to give my all and like prep, even for dialogues and all of that, right?
Right.
From then, I started understanding the pain and effort and even picking up the characters and like Hituru, right? At that point of time, I was not sure at all if I'd be able to pull it off, because it is a character that could happen in an actress's career probably once in their whole career, which happened to me. Hituru came to me, and I thought I'll just give it a shot, and it was a journey.
Yeah?
Yeah, for that movie. That's why I told you I was really surprised that you picked out that movie name, because nobody like, it's not very popular of a movie. It's a movie. Yeah, a lot of hard work went into that movie.
Yeah, it's particularly difficult when you have to play a character in different stages of their life, because in a way you have to encapsulate that whole character arc into 2 hours. You have to retain this character you've created. Has to have the core, but you also have to show the younger version, the middle version, and the older
Correct.
version.
And like I said before, I'm not the same person I was 10 years before. I don't talk like her. I don't think like her. I'm a completely different person now. So to bring that into a character is also difficult, right? My difficulty was the language in that movie, because Telugu is not my mother tongue, and I'm really bad in mugging up dialogues. I can't mug up dialogues. So I still remember when I used to have like 2-3 pages long dialogues and all, like previous day, I used to ask the director to just give me the dialogues, and I used to be behind them to like, just give me the dialogues. I used to learn it properly at nights.
Do you think it makes a difference knowing multiple languages? Does that give you more depth as an actor if you can perform a role in Tamil, Malayalam? Does language unlock more parts of you?
Of course. Yeah, because having command in a language will give you the power of improvising and all of that for a scene. Otherwise, we'll have to go by the book, right? We'll have to we'll have to like try to remember the dialogue and even the emotions while speaking the dialogues and all of that. Like,
interesting. I want to dive more into the craft, because you've often said that you first got into movies and then you developed the love for the craft much later. So what's been your approach towards creating characters? Let's say you get a script today and you're giving me lessons into how you create a character. Do you have a list of things that you have to do Is there a checklist in place of your creative process of how you actually go about?
I never thought so much back
Today's the
then.
day.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I used to think that if I got that character now, I would have done it way differently. Every actors go through that, right? Like when they watch their old movies, they'll be like, I should have done that now.
Which ones?
Every movie.
All your roles you want to do.
Of course, of course.
Not happy with even one of them.
I don't think so. I'm happy is a little bit extreme. I'm not satisfied. Even after the shoot of the movie and when I see the movie in the theater later, I would think, why did I react like that? Why couldn't I have done it another way? You know, that thought will keep coming if you are a creative person, I believe. That is always there. Even the radio shows that I do, when I go back and listen to it few days later, I think, oh, I could have started it differently. I could have gone to the hook differently and I could have ended it differently and all of that, right? You are always critical, right? That happens throughout.
So in that moment, were you just responding to what is happening, what the director was telling you, how the co-actor is acting? It just happens in the moment, which is why when you go back, you feel like, oh, I wasn't really in control. I should have done it different. Because every single time I'll go on set, I'll do something different, right? It all depends on so many factors in play.
Yeah, because after a few shots, the co-actor would appreciate me or the director would appreciate me. And then in my head, okay, then that must be good then. You know, that's what I would think. But then again, when you see the movie later, you would think, oh, damn, I should have done it differently. You know? That'll happen. I'm sure when you watch your podcasts later.
Perfect. Never once. All the time.
Yeah, right?
All the time.
You would have thought, oh, I should have framed the question differently and all of that, right? I think that'll keep happening. And I think that is what helps you grow.
What makes films in the South so good? Because I remember when I was young, I used to talk to my friends about Bollywood or Hindi films. And they used to say, if you think these films are good, the films in the South are one level above. And often at that point, this wasn't common knowledge that a lot of Hindi films are remakes of
Correct.
original films in the South. So have you studied this? What makes films, Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, what makes them so good? Why were they levels ahead of other industries?
I can't talk for Kannada or for any other languages because growing up, I've mainly watched only Malayalam movies and, of course, some of the Hollywood and Bollywood movies. But for Malayalam, if you ask me, we have always been good. Malayalam movies have always been good.
What were they doing
right
those?
now?
Yeah.
If you go back and watch a movie from probably 1986, 1989, you'll be still mind blown.
Which ones?
There are a lot of movies like that. Like, I'd probably say Peruvannapuruthe Visheshangal. I dare to say that. I want you to say that.
I'm asking the questions. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
Peruvannapuruthe
AI generate.
Visheshangal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peruvannapuruthe Visheshangal. Then there is this Lalitan movie. It's definitely not that old, but it's called Bharadam. I was mind blown when I first saw that. And to think that Mohanlal was only 28 years old, 27, 28 years old when he played that character. What is he made of, right? That is, and I think he got a national award for that character. It's also about being rooted, right? Being rooted in the culture and like, we say in Malayalam, it's called Malayali Tanima. It's basically, how do you say it? Proper Malayali culture vibes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the easiest way I can put it.
That helps, right? Because let's say Bollywood is so, like it spreads. Of course, Mumbai is the center, but in a way, Hindi films could be North and Mumbai. So you don't have a core around which you can build.
Exactly. So for Malayalam movies, some movies were made in like 25 to 30 days. And those movies in theaters, it would run for like 400 days. You know what I mean? And it's a much smaller set. There'd be like probably back in the day. I've not worked back in the day, but I'm just saying because I watch a lot of interviews, and from whatever they've said, they wouldn't have like too many people on the set with them. It would be a humble set. There were no caravans or anything.
That changes things?
It's more like a family, right? Malayalam films, even when I was working, when I started off, I didn't have a caravan. I remember Dilip Etten had, when we were shooting in the city, I think. I'm not very sure. And I didn't know what caravan looked like, or a vanity van, inside of the vanity van, what was there in there. I remember changing in a house in that location. They would probably like rent out a house, or they would pay them like 250, 300 rupees. Yeah. And I could use a washroom there and all of that. It was like that. And every actors used to sit around and they used to talk. I still remember my mom used to, when we were shooting a movie called Mallu Singh, it was shot in Punjab. And my mom used to buy all the Punjabi snacks and keep in her bag, and she used to distribute it to everyone, whoever is on the on the set. So it used to be like that. It's like I don't know how to put it. It's more like a family vibe.
Has that changed now?
I'm not sure. I've not worked in the last I don't know how long. So I'm not very sure.
So you grew up studying obviously Malayalam films, but then you went on to work in Tamil, Telugu, Kannada as well. Have you noticed a difference in the filmmaking style, work ethic, techniques they use? Are they all largely similar?
No, they are not. They're not. After working in Malayalam, when I went to Tamil, is when I first saw a caravan and, a vanity van, how it looked like and all of that, what is inside a vanity van and all of that. So I went, and so that I had an idea that it's still a bigger industry. When I went from Tamil to Telugu, I remember the production people used to come and ask me what I wanted for lunch to eat. And they used to ask me if I want Domino's or KFC.
Yeah, big deals.
Or a salad from Subway. I still remember one actor I worked with. That movie didn't finish. Just worked for 2 weeks in that movie, and the actor used to come to the set with a gun.
Huh?
He had a gun. He had a. I'm sure he had permission for that, because that is a scale there, right? In the Telugu movie industry, they are big.
So they come with guns?
I don't know. I didn't think too much into that at that time. I was like, okay.
Yeah, comes with a gun. Whatever.
Yeah. And like I said, when I was shooting for Mallu Singh, when we were shooting in Punjab, the location manager or somebody told us that the Ajay Devgan's one movie was there, right? What was it called? I'm really sorry for...
What was he doing in the movie?
Some Punjab
Son of Sardar?
story. I think so.
Yeah.
So they were shooting for that there. And when we were on the way back from the location to the room, we used to go I was playing one of the 4 sisters of the hero. And when I was on the way, the driver was telling us, there were 2-3 police jeeps, and in between there was 2-3 cars, and in a Rohit Shetty movie, right? And in one of the car was Ajay Devgan. And they used to be like, yeah, they're just going for the shooting, maybe. And we are going back. Yeah. So then we kind of know the scale of Bollywood movie, or if they should provide so much of security and things to the hero. That would be the scale of the movie, right? That is what I meant with the Telugu hero.
You also mentioned in previous interviews that you were very curious to study your co-actors. What makes them so good? When you worked with Mammootty, you wanted to study what makes Mammootty Mammootty. So I'll never be on the same set as Mammootty. So I have to ask you, what makes him so good? Have you studied what sets him apart from other people?
I think it's their passion for acting and passion for films in general. For a star of that stature, he doesn't have to come to the set on time. If the director of the movie says, you'll have to come at 10 a.m., he can easily come at probably 12:31 and say, oh, sorry, I slept off. He's always there on dot at 10. And when I was acting with him for the first time, I still remember him being extremely understanding of what is going through my head. Because I'm literally shivering beside him. And I had a bloody 2-page dialogue. Whenever my character is there in that movie, everyone else is silent. I'm the one who is ba, 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 ba. I'm the one who's talking. So I always had like big pages of dialogues. First rehearsal, second rehearsal, third rehearsal, I used to fumble and I used to be like, oh, damn, why am I not getting this right and all of that. And then he used to be like, hey, relax, just say it again. It's okay. He can easily say, go learn and come. Don't waste my time, right? I think it's that.
What about Mohanlal? What sets him apart?
It's the same. Lalitan used to sit with us and talk. And the humility, right? Both of them carries. The humility is next level, man. Like, they could easily go to their caravans and like chill there, watch what they want, prep maybe. But they are always on the set. I still remember when shooting with Lalitan one day, his phone rings and he picks up and somebody on the other end, he puts it on speaker. I vaguely remember, yeah? This was for when I was shooting for Lokpal, a movie called Lokpal. His phone rings and he picks up the call and he says, hello? It was some kid or something. And they were like, Mohanlal ano? They're like, is it Mohanlal? And he's just like, ആണല്ലോ ഞാനിപ്പോൾ തിരക്കില്ല മോനെ പിന്നെ സംസാരിക്കാം. He basically said, I'm busy, I'll talk to you later. And he just hung up. And I'm like, he doesn't have to do that. He can easily ask people to like pick up and talk or maybe block the call or anything of that sort. So the humility...
How many calls is he getting like that every day?
Exactly, right? Yeah. He's Mohanlal.
His number is public. Can I?
I don't know. I remember this happening. I don't know how the scene is right now. I'm talking about, 15 years ago? And I used to be like, oh my God, I never got Mohanlal's number.
And these kids have it.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
One day. Let's move on to the next chapter of your life, which is radio. You have often said that when you used to promote your movies, you didn't find many of the media interviews very interesting, but the radio interviews you found fascinating because the radio presenters always did so much. They could sit at the console, they could interview someone, they could be so articulate, and you found that very fascinating. So when you got the opportunity, you jumped on it. Walk me through that process because like we spoke about earlier about this mindset of jumping from TV into films. There used to be this mindset, still is this mindset about radio or films. There's a clear hierarchy that's set in place often. So was it a tough decision for you at that point to go from films to radio, which is not something people do often?
Not really. Because for me, at that point of time, I was happy with the movies and I came for an award function here. I've said this also many
Asia
times.
Vision,
Yeah. I came here to perform and Kareena Kapoor was the chief guest. And I remember the biggest cheering from the crowd was for the best radio presenter when you compare it with Kareena Kapoor. And I'm like, how is this possible? Like, she is bloody Kareena Kapoor Khan, right? The love for radio for people here is another level because they're always on their cars, right? They're always traveling from point A to point B, even if it's from work to home or to meet your friends. And at least when I came in to the scene, to the radio, there was no Spotify. I mean, Spotify, Apple Music was not as popular.
No podcast. Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Radio
not that
was the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, right? So people used to always be on radio. So I got the taste of it that day and I wanted to, and I remember if I'm being a radio presenter, I wanted to be in UAE and not in India because in Kerala, that was not the same. I know what the scene was. So when an opportunity came my way, I just grabbed it. That's it.
I agree because I grew up in Dubai and our idea of local celebrities were radio
presenters, right?
Always.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if this makes sense, but cricketers or Bollywood actors, they often felt very inaccessible. It's like it's happening in a different world. It's happening in the screen.
Oh.
But the radio presenters are our idea of celebrities because they're people among us, but they're doing these cool things. They're so smart, so intelligent on radio. And like they're inaugurating this thing or they're going to be part of this restaurant.
Correct.
They're talking about things we can relate to. They seem to be living the life that we are living, but also doing it in a certain way. Whereas there was no cricket matches happening here as well, right? So it was always like, oh, that's a different world. But our idea of cool, smart people are radio presenters. Yeah. So you think there's a difference. So you won't see that level of clout for radio presenters back home.
No.
Why is that?
Even now, right? When I travel from here to India and when I listen to the radio there, it's very different. The presentation style and everything.
What's the difference?
I don't know. I mean, here the presentation style, they talk in a tune, I feel. Not here, back. Yeah, there. They talk in a tune, I feel. I don't know why they do that. And for every Malayalam radio station, they talk like, I don't know how to imitate that. I'm really sorry, but I'm sure. Oh, that's nice.
As you talk, suddenly there'll be like all these art pieces all around you.
Nice. So I'm sure people who are watching me would know what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. I like the presentation style here of any radio station.
What's the style here?
So I feel it's more of a conversational, I don't know, it's like that there also, but I don't know. There's a lot of difference in, like I said, it's the way they speak maybe. And I've heard that the station heads ask the presenters to speak. Yeah. I don't know why. Why do they do that? Or maybe that I got so used to listening to the radio here and I kind of am too used to the presentation style here when compared to that.
Roshan Abbas had come on the show and he had mentioned how when he was in the early years of radio in India, they used to ask people to change their names or take on more filmy names that would work better on radio. And even now in news, there's a style of like a news anchor.
Yeah.
The way they report, which I don't know why they still do it when things have moved on, right? There's like 5 people were found or something like that. Whereas you see like the newer news channels, they have completely given up because there's no reason for that type of cadence to push through. You've often said that many people think that if they talk really well, if they talk a lot, they'll become good radio presenters. But there's a lot of prep that goes on behind the scenes. So what goes on in a radio show? Let's say I want to be a radio presenter. What's the prep? What's the routine? How do I create a good radio show?
I first thought it's going to be really easy and I'm like going to chill out and I'm just going to enjoy life here. But after like 2 shows, I was like, this is not what I thought it is. There is too much of work that goes into this because it's easy to find news, random news to talk on air, but it's difficult to find random news that is interesting for the listeners, right? It has to be interesting for them too, otherwise they would tune out. Even your presentation style should be interesting.
This is something you worked on?
I try.
And what did you change to make
I don't know. I mean, the more you do it, and the more you listen to your own shows, I think that can bring in a lot of change.
Subconsciously?
Maybe. At one point, my station head used to forcefully listen to our shows, and at that time, I used to be like, "Oh, why is Chuma wasting my time and all of that?" But when I listen to it, I understand why they are asking us to listen to it, because you just talk on air and that's it. That's done. It's gone. We can't do anything about it. The next day is a new day, and you'll have to like do something new, right? That's what I thought. But you can pick on the words that you repeat. You can pick on the way you start a link and the way you end a link and the peak of the link, or the...
What are these terms?
Oh, the link is the time that you speak on air. Probably 2 to 3 minutes, right? So that is what is called a link. So how
There's
you start...
a start, end, and a peak to it?
Yeah, it has to be there, right? Otherwise, sometimes you just end it straight to the news. Sometimes you just give a proper introduction and then get to the news. And just end it in a way that listeners come back to you and ask, okay, what happens next? Right? So it's important to give all of that. Also, it's important to see what words you repeat the most on air. And like, I have a habit of going a lot. When I'm thinking, I think with my mouth. So I had to work on that. I think I'm improving. I'm still learning.
You're in this very unique spot where you went from acting into radio. Is there an advantage of doing that? Because maybe the craft you develop as an actor, it allows you to create a certain persona on air, exaggerate certain parts of your personality, or it's a disadvantage because it will create this bad habit of trying to be a persona when you just have to be yourself on air.
The good part was I didn't have to try to be anyone else. I just had to be me. Like, people had seen my movies, who have seen my movies, kind of knew who I was and all of that. But then after that, to get the love from the people was a challenge. Like, you have to... They'll have to see you as their own, right? With movie people, they don't do that. So after a point, I started loving when people came and told me, I love listening to your radio show than I used to love your movies. You know?
Yeah, it's a different equation altogether.
Exactly. So that is what I was longing for. Like, people to come to me and say, I listen to you, I really like your radio show. That's what I long for now.
Even more than movies. Like,
yeah.
A good radio show is better than a good movie for you.
For me, because I love radio now. If you ask me acting or radio now, I would definitely say radio, because that is what I love doing and I'm in my comfort and I'm in my comfort zone.
You mentioned the difference in presentation style in radio presenters here and back home. What about the audience? Is there a difference in the...
Yeah.
There is a difference?
There is.
What's the difference?
Here, everyone is in a hurry, right? They are on to their next thing. They're just doing something or the other. There, it's more of a slow life. And I don't think they care if you talk in a tune or like... they would still listen to you. And they would still love you.
Is there a difference in the way they adopt their culture, their approach to a Keralite identity or a culture? Because obviously they're adapting pockets of the Middle Eastern culture as well. But is there a difference in like the Keralite audience and the way they relate or they respond to certain elements of their identity as compared to people back home?
Yeah, it's also the things that we speak about, right? Here, we would talk about a new roadwork that's happening on Sheikh Zayed Road. There, the topic would be of a strike that's happening tomorrow because of this political party. Do you understand?
Completely different, yeah.
It's entirely different. So it's also about the topics that you pick on to speak on the radio, right?
Do they have a different appetite for films? Because at least in Bollywood, there's a distinctive NRI segment and there are filmmakers who make movies for an NRI audience.
Really?
Like Karan Johar is a very good example. And that type of film is a very different type of film as compared to, let's say, a conventional movie. Have you seen a difference like that in Malayalam movies?
No, there are different type of movies coming, but I feel fundamentally Malayalis' love for Malayalam movies is the same.
Okay, across.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
it's definitely the same. I would still love watching an Empuran as much as I would love watching a Vara 2, which is really successful now. It's a story of few youngsters in school struggling and all of that. So I would still love watching this movie and that movie. And the Malayali audience here and there have recepted both these movies well.
Before we wrap up, I have to ask you about some of the challenges of getting into the film industry. Let's say I want to become an actor. You've said in the past that because you became an actor at such a young age, you were not ready for the responsibility of being an actor. And there's always things that come along the way. People will try to exploit you. A lot of directors were unprofessional with you. One director even proposed marriage to you as well.
Yeah.
So what are some things that I have to look out for? What is the responsibility of being an actor? What are some obstacles I might face in the industry?
Responsibilities I never knew back then because I didn't have to be responsible. My mom was proper responsible for me. Like nobody even had my number. I got
Mohanlal's number people have, only your number. Nobody has.
Everyone used to contact my mom, right?
Right, she was the manager.
Yeah, she was my all in all. So I didn't have to bother too much about that. But again, in Malayalam film industry, at that point of time, at least everyone knew everyone and they all knew how I spoke and like how I dealt with situations and all of that. And I had that name of, okay, she's a Lal Jose heroine. So that helped me also. And again, I was a child, right? I was a very innocent, okay, I'm ready to take any shit, sorry, kind of
Allowed.
yeah, kind of a girl. I honestly didn't know if somebody was flirting with me or if somebody was trying on me. I had no clues.
But
I
it was
just
happening.
maybe I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe it was happening, and I used to just laugh it off. I used to just like be like, "What are you saying?" That's it. And they used to know that, oh, she's a kid.
Not even aware that
Yeah,
like a proposal's been made.
exactly. So we're just laughing it off here. But now when if that's happening right now,
The problem.
it's a different scene altogether, right? It has changed. The way people behave to one another and like you have to choose your words wisely and all of that.
Are there these challenges if I want to get into Malayalam films today? Do I need to know people? Do I need to have a network? Like make some people happy? Does that still exist?
That is very, very true. Yeah, it definitely exists because I am very bad in that. I'm very bad in like keeping in touch and all of that. So that is why I said my mom was good in that. She still keeps in touch with people from the industry. I don't.
So networking is important. It's
It
not
is
just
very
skill.
important.
Okay.
It is very important.
Who you know matters.
Who you know and how you are with them. So I'm a kind of person who says anything and everything to anyone. Like if I'm upset with something, I would make sure that person knows that I'm upset with this. So that is a problem.
Really?
Yeah, it is. It is not like I am telling a friend of mine to just shut it. I can't just go and say that to Mohanlal. You think I can? No, I can't do that. It's a talent to have, which I don't, sadly.
Like there are instances where you've said something and gone and then later realize, oh, that might have offended someone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
happened.
multiple times. I still remember after the first movie, for the first Tamil movie, when I was at the workshop, my mom got a call from this major producer. Amma had no clues who that was. And she was like, okay, Let me just talk to her manager. I will get back to you. And that time, my first film director had spoken to some guy to just manage me for a few films, because obviously we are coming from nowhere and like help, right? So he was offended, and I didn't get that movie at all. That producer was offended. Yeah.
That you didn't immediately say yes. That
Yeah.
you had to
or
think
at
about
least,
it.
no, he was offended that she said that, okay, let us discuss with the manager and get back to you.
Not the most
Yeah.
obvious thing. Yeah.
It is not. You should be polite, and you should be like, you should think who you are talking to.
Should be grateful that I got this offer.
You should. It's not just that. Even if you are saying no, you should say it in a nicer way.
Okay.
Yeah. There was too much at stake, and there was too much of work, man. I'm glad that I'm here. Now I don't know how the scene is at all. I have no clues how
I'll tell
things
you.
are.
When I start my career, watch out.
Yeah.
But if I don't make it, I've said something that's pissed someone off. Then my career's over.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start wrapping up before we go into the closing questions. I would love to know what masterpiece you're building.
Oh
with
God.
Lego.
Look at this. Look at this. No, actually, I thought I'll make something, but I use my hand a lot while talking. Right? So, yeah, and I'm a bad multitasker.
So what's this now? Incomplete.
This is still being built.
What was this supposed to be?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know what it would have been. It is. I would just call this work in
Work in progress.
progress,
What
yeah.
about my work?
This looks nice. You're a talented person.
Thank you.
Good.
I'm going to auction it. What does it look like?
I don't know what it looks like. What does it
What
look
shape?
like?
Yeah.
From here, it looks like a rocket station.
Please don't break my
Sorry.
masterpiece.
Sorry. 300,000 dirhams.
Actually, can be auctioned for that. But the Rocket Station, work in progress, already a masterpiece. I'm going
Wow.
to put the links to auction this so that they can sponsor
I'm
the
sorry.
show.
I'm sorry. I was not good with this.
No. Work in progress there's some deep meaning hidden in that. Final 3 questions for you. What are some books, movies, role models that have strongly influenced in your life? I want some recommendations.
I love the books that I'm reading now. I read Colleen Hoover, and I'm a simple reader. Yeah. Yeah, and all of that. Movies influence me.
What's one life-changing movie, especially for an audience that's never watched a South Indian film?
It should be something like a Kumbhalangi Nights or something like that. Yeah. Kumbhalangi Nights is so rooted yet so like you would feel life is just simple. Don't complicate it. There are too many messages from that movie, I feel. It is just about today. Right? You never know what happens.
Last 2 questions. What would you like your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
Oh God. I don't think that much at all. I just take it one day at a time and just try to be in the moment and enjoy. And that's it. I don't think, oh my God, what should my legacy be, or nothing of that sort.
Well, then this is the question you'll have definitely thought of. Final
God.
one, easiest one. What is the meaning of life?
Oh
Meera Nandan?
God. For me, it has been to be empathetic and to be at peace.
Meera, if people wish to connect with you, find out more about you, listen to your radio show, stay connected with you, what's the best way to find you, connect with you?
Through my Instagram, which is Nandan_Meera.
Meera, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this
Thank
conversation.
you. It was lovely talking to you. I think I've told a lot of things that I don't know if I've told before, but anyway, it was a fun conversation.
This is no time. If you liked what you just watched or listened to, then please consider subscribing on YouTube, follow on Spotify, rate 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. This project is a labor of love, but cannot survive on love alone. So if you want to see this project continue, please consider becoming a YouTube member or a Patreon donor for less than $1 a month for the cost of a coffee a month or the cost of a subway ride. And that will really help me keep the lights on. If not through financial channels, then do consider sharing these episodes, leaving your likes and comments. All forms of engagement, they really help push a show of this nature past the barriers set by the algorithm. For other forms of love and support, you can follow this channel on Instagram or Twitter, or follow me personally.